So you find us here on the simple operating model, task one. This spreadsheet is meant to be done task by task. There'll be a video accompanying each task, and your goal is to be forecasting the financial statements of the company, making sure that everything balances on the balance sheet. That's a kind of bread and butter three-statement model task for any M&A analyst. And then you're going to turn the information that you've gathered or the forecast that you've created into some valuations, into a discounted cash flow, and then into an enterprise value and comparable company analysis. If you have time, you will get all the way down to ratios, key metrics, but don't worry if you don't. I'm going to be talking quite quickly. I'm going to be doing this quite quickly because you are up against it. You've got an hour to complete this. So we're going to start by forecasting out the income statement. And the first line item, of course, it's the thing that drives the rest of the model, is revenue. And we tend to look at revenue as a growth rate. Actually, in fact, I'm going to zoom in just so that you guys can see this a little bit better. We tend to look at revenue as a growth rate. So multiplied by 1 plus the growth rate. The income statement drivers tend to be down at the bottom below the income statement. So if you're worried about how to do something, usually the growth rate or the percentage of is down here. You'll see this tab go green. If I got this wrong, it will go red. I've just pressed, by the way, I pressed copy, Control C, and then shift it across, and then Control V, just so that I can keep everything on my keyboard without having to use the mouse. It's just going to speed things up. I'm going to use a little rate formula here. So the rate formula basically helps me establish a compound annual growth rate. And the first thing I need to do is I need to take the year 2027 and minus the year 2022 to give me my periods. Then I am going to do a double comma. It's important. Then I'm going to click my 2022 revenue. Then I'm going to do a comma. Then I'm going to do minus my 2027 revenue. And I'm going to get my number. So it is rate, open brackets, P8 minus K8, double comma, K10, comma, minus P10. This is what you need to be driving off. And if you get it right, you get it green. That's one of the hardest formulas in this whole thing, by the way. So if you can do that, we're going to be flying. So COGS, cost of sales, well, it's a percentage of revenue. So I can just go 9.675 multiplied by cost of sales as a percentage of revenue, copy across, and we know that gross profit is just revenue minus cost of goods sold. So I am now starting to fly. Product development, let's have a look down here. Product development is a percentage of revenue again. So let's take it from the top and go product development as a percentage of revenue. In fact, SG&A is also sales general administrative is also a percentage of revenue. So I'm just going to do this, both of these. And in fact, I might as well just go 7.1 minus 1.8 minus SG&A. And because I've just done all of those three formulas, I'm going to copy them across as is. Don't worry about these formulas, these little things in the top left-hand side. You can always just click on them and go ignore error. That's just because we've changed the formula from 2022 to 2023. So it's not an issue at all. I've given you your non-operating income. If it's in a bracket, it's an expense, it's a minus number. That's how we do things. You are going to have to calculate your interest expense. Well, let's have a look. Interest expense as a percentage of total debt. I'm going to put a minus there because we now know it's a minus. To find total debt, we need to go to the balance sheet. So you will see down here, total debt, long-term debt. We need to flick it here. And you will see it's nothing because we haven't got to the balance sheet yet. So it goes red. We will return to this to make sure that it goes green in the future, right? And therefore, everything from here on in is going to be red because we don't have that interest line. It will come and these reds will turn green. Pre-tax income is just the sum of the non-operating income, interest expense, and operating income. Tax provision, well, look, we've got it here. We've got a minus 19% multiplied by the pre-tax income, 526. I'm really hoping that when I come back to this, this is all going to go green because otherwise I'm in trouble. Sum these two together because you're going down to net income. So pre-tax income, tax provision, sum them together and you get to net income. That is the bottom of an income statement. So well done for getting that far. We just need to do one more thing. We need to take earnings before interest and tax, which is basically your operating income. You can see this by looking at previous years, 3521. This goes green because we're missing out this little middle person here. We're going to add on our depreciation and amortization to get to EBITDA. Remember, D&A is a percentage of revenue. You can see it here, 1.8%. And then EBITDA is the sum of those. EBITDA is a really important representation of profit. And it's something that we're going to use later on when it comes to doing our multiples analysis. So if your spreadsheet looks anything like this at this stage, with these columns in red and the rest in green, you are doing really well.